What's up, everybody? Happy Saturday. It's about that time. All right, let's kick it off. Hey, it actually worked right this time. Yay. What's up, everyone? It was working. All right, I'm gonna have to fix that. Piece of crap. Why does the desktop never want to show properly? All right, hang on. Try this again. Failure. All right. I'll get this sorted out eventually. So what happens is, if I start streaming from the desktop too soon, it doesn't like it. And apparently, that's what I did. So then I gotta go and change the settings real quick. That's all right. HackBot's just doing its initial seed run right now. So we're not missing anything fantabulous. Hey, there we go. I think what I'm gonna have to actually do is put this as a background, or just like not start the stream yet. I'm not even sure what I'm gonna need to do with it. But anyway, so what should be going on now is HackBot starting its seed run. I actually remembered to start it up on time. Looks like it's over in the exploitation agent. What are we doing down here? It's trying to go to uploads.php. It's not uploads.php. It's gone wonky on us. What was it doing here? So something was obviously going crazy here because the browser navigate was just running in loops here. Look at that. Look at that. All that crap where it's like, I'm going to try and do this. So what happened here? Let's see what's going on with our good old exploitation agent, which is getting so close to actually being functionable. Let's see. What was the steps planned out here? So get the web shell artifact. There's our target. Use the upload the PHP web shell, check it in the uploads directory. Okay. So let's see the first thing it does. So first thing it does is it gets the artifact. That came back just fine. Hey, Bobby, what's up, brother? And so what does it do here to actually... Actually, hold on. What are the instructions we got passed down to it? Let's see. Navigate to the file upload form. Okay, that's fine. Goes... Oh, but that's not the file upload form. For some reason, that's the root directory. So why is it... Hold on, why didn't it try to go to the uploads directory? Maybe because it's too dumb? Oh, it just says navigate to the file upload form at here. It should have gotten that information, though. All right, let's see how it handles this, because you know what? We learn more from the failures than the successes. So, what does our little chatbot say? So I'm going to navigate to the form with the specified URL. That's fine. Minimal content. I don't see a file upload form on the landing page. So then it takes a snapshot. Then it tries to navigate again. And then what does it try to do? The upload path returns a 404 not found. So let's try another common path. So it tries upload.php. Okay, so it's actually trying to find the upload form, which is hilarious. It should have access to that info. Well, actually, no, it shouldn't. What should have happened is the step planner should have given it the exact URL. Instead, it just told go to the upload form, right? So if we come back up to the step planner for the exploit, it just says navigate to the file upload form at. Okay, so maybe that's something else we need to make as an adjustment to this. Let me find Royal real quick. Shut up, baby, I know it. Hey, Monkey, what's up, dude? Doing good? No, Superman does good. You're doing well. Take that out. I'm gonna rant about the weather here for a sec. Be my guest, man. The weather's been kind of crazy. Need to go find the prompts. Where's our exploit step planner? Here it is. Why the hell is it 82 degrees in November? Because Texas only has a few seasons, if you didn't know that. Why are none of these... Here. Let's see if I can find it. Not the Phoenix. Well, this is kind of it. Not what I was expecting, but yeah. Almost summer, summer, still summer, Christmas. Yeah, that's about it for Texas. Now, I wish I could find the one I was looking for, because it is a... It's definitely not this. It's absolutely not that. It's like a sun, but it's like a little cute sun, and then he just buffs up during the summer, and then he becomes little cute sun again, but it's still just sun year-round. I do like this one, though. Good old King of the Hill. Alright, you failed me, Brave Search. If I have to go to Thanksgiving dinner in shorts and flip-flops, I'm not going to be happy. Dude, I love shorts and flip-flops. That's my year-round go-to. I was just really happy I could be in my office and not be sweating my nuts off. Because I have now an extra computer in here, right? So I have my work laptop. I have 2 monitors. I have 6 monitors active in here at any given time. The Nook, my desktop, the NAS, the server, the other server, and now a Raspberry Pi, because I had to troubleshoot it. So it's currently in the office and not in the network closet where it should be. Okay, I need to go update this prompt, because we need to be explicit where the upload form is at. Bring this over some more. There we go. Now I can see the whole thing. I don't think we make any references to URLs, usually just file extensions. I'm glad we put these examples of good and bad in here. They seem to be doing pretty well. Tasks may contain placeholders text. These should not be considered hard requirements for completion. Oh, wait, this is not the correct prompt, though. This is the... That's the exploit step status one. Hold on. For the step planner, we bring out a different one. That's the one. Yeah, here's the correct prompt. URL paths should be URLs and file paths should be fully qualified paths. We'll add that into here. Those should be fully qualified paths, and then we're going to add another directive in here. We'll tell it actually, we'll put another one here. We'll put a bad example in here. Bad example would be navigate to the file upload form http/. Yeah, I know. There, will that make you happy? Let's do there we go. We'll put that in there, and then we're gonna put another good example in here. We're gonna buff this guy up a bit. Good example. Hey, Labricorn, happy Saturday, man. I built a prompt builder tester for a hackathon. Ooh, neato. So I have some, I got some good news also. So I think I'm just about out of Anthropic credits, but I've got someone who's gonna sponsor this project on the down low to let us use their Bedrock instance. So chances are what's going to happen here is, I'll be updating HackBot's backend to away from Chat Anthropic over to what is it, OpenAI? Because basically they're hosting it through a light LLM proxy, and then I'll be able to connect over to their system and then proxy traffic up to it. So I have to, I'll have to go through and do some rebuild on that. I'll probably do that off stream because there's going to be a lot of back-end troubleshooting, but that will be coming up pretty soon. A prompt tester, nice. I actually thought about ways to try and attempt to try and improve the prompts in HackBot, but I need more data and more examples, because the prompts, essentially these started off very skinny, and as issues come up and we notice things, we start coming through and condensing and adding information. So like, for example, this good example, bad example, let's see. Bad example, I'm even going to put a note in here. Missing path. Good example. Full path. Put that sucker in here. There we go. But once HackBot gets a little bit more fleshed out, that is one of the things I want to do, is actually go through and have it run multiple iterations against... Basically have it go through and do a couple different, like, very simple hacking challenges, and as it's going through that, have another basically AI system go in and refine that as it goes through it, so that way it can look at the prompts, the input and the output, and see kind of what's expected and let it try and self-optimize. That might work. So this one used a local LLM model with a llama. So free 95. So I can't share it until the hackathon's over. Nice, dude. When the hackathon's over, definitely let me see it, because I'd be very interested in that. Because prompt optimization isn't something that I focus too much on unless it became a blocker. So, for example, in today's run, it became a blocker because of this. It said navigate to upload the PHP, or no, navigate to the file upload form at here. So it's making it sound like this page should have the file upload form. And then what happened is the browser agent had to go through and basically brute force where the path was. So like, for example, we can just see it right here. It navigates to there. There's no browser upload. Then it comes through and navigates to /upload. Well, that doesn't work. Actually, should that have worked? Hang on. Let's go check it real quick. So if I go to upload, yeah, so upload doesn't work because it's a directory in there. Oh, it's uploads anyway. But anyway, that's the wrong path anyway, because it should be going to panel. That's where the actual upload is. So it sent the browser agent on this wild goose chase here. It's trying to go to upload, then it tries to go to like upload PHP. And then it tries to go to index PHP, which takes it back to the main page. Then it tries to go to uploader. And so the poor browser agent is just sitting here like trying to brute force and guess where the path is that we already know. So this is a failure on the planner's part. The planner should have looked at this more closely. And look, it's just the poor browser agent is just spinning its wheels. And the browser agent is so unoptimized that just probably burned a crap ton of tokens. So I killed it while I noticed it was running in there. Yeah. Let's see. So that little loop that the planner, by not putting that full path in there, cost $2. That's a $2 mistake. So using Quinn 27B and Quinn 330B. Nice. Nice. Yeah, $2 mistake. So the good news is here's the good news. So with HackBot, I had $100 in Anthropic tokens. That has lasted us up till this point, because the exploitation agent is the chunkiest one in terms of like token consumption. Has lasted us until this point. I think I'm almost out of those Anthropic credits. In fact, hang on one sec. I'll tell y'all real quick. Let me see here. Let me go get logged in real fast. Ah, damn it. Hang on, stand by. I'm trying to check it real quick, but it's in a different desktop that I don't want to share. There we go. In fact, I haven't checked the budget in a while. Let's see, where's the billing or usage? I think that might show it. Nope, that's not showing it. Cost. Here we go. Maybe billing shows it. Okay, so we're actually doing all right. There's $30 left in Claude credits. Here, one sec. There we go. So not too bad, considering we've been working on this for, I don't know, maybe 9 months, I think. Yeah, 9-ish months. Only cost about $70 so far, and because we've been doing a pretty good job of keeping the context window from just ballooning and exploding. However, the browser agent and the browser agent in particular is particularly the most unoptimized because it just uses the plain message history. So every time we send a new event with that browser, the message history just grows and expands and gets huge. So there's a better way to do that. I just haven't wanted to mess around with it, but not too bad. Still got $30 in credits there. But with the new backer that I've got to help out with this project, they're actually going to give me $100 per month to work on it. So I still want to keep it optimized, but if I want to do more runs, I'm not going to be nearly as troubled by it. By the way, I already finished my Jocko drink because it was nice and cold, and I took the kids out riding today, and they were at a private motocross track, and just ripping it up. And it wasn't that hot, but it was hot enough, and I was just dying. So, not sponsored by Jocko yet. A bit early in the night for that, I know, but I actually already crushed that drink before the stream started. So Bedrock supports the Anthropic models, but you could also use an LLM router like OpenRouter or Light LLM and request access to any of the other load balancing kind of things. And that's what we're using right now. That's what they're giving me access to, is through Light LLM, through their Light LLM proxy, I'll be able to go in and use any of the Anthropic models that I want. So, and I don't know how Bedrock is going to handle the sunsetting of 3.7. So I might be forced to go ahead and upgrade to 4.5. I haven't wanted to change it yet because I was hoping to get through some part. But if I got to make that change, I would rather do it sooner than later. And before like being halfway through the exploitation agent and then having to make the change, that would really suck. Because I'm already going to have been like massaging it to work with the exploitation agent. So I think that will probably be the wise choice, is once getting through the exploitation agent and it's looking nice and fine, I'll see about go ahead and getting that set up, get that proxy set up to the new backers Bedrock, and then once that's going, then you'll use probably Claude 4.5 going forward. But they're gonna, like I said, they're gonna give me $100 a month to play with, so I'm like, baller. I'm gonna be honest, people are dropping $100 a month on Claude, so you're being super efficient on tokens. I'm trying, man. And there's way more optimization to be done inside of HackBot. Because, for example, where is it? For example, like, when we send these calls, there's nothing in here really optimizing what tool calls we're using. So, actually, a better example would be over here. So let me come over to, like, the recon agent. So in the recon agent, this is just a little bit of a beefed up and modified version of the React agent, right? In here. There you go. Now y'all can see it all. So what does it do? The recon agent comes through and gets its task, figures out what it wants to do. It then makes a tool call. The tool node executes it. The output formatter takes that output and condenses it and puts it into a storable format for the state table. Bullshit, and then it gets inserted. Sound off like you got a pair. Oh, you're so full of crap, Gumby. And then once the data comes back from the output formatter, it gets updated, and then the validator looks at that data and says, okay, we got new data, did it complete the task? That's it. And then once it's done, it goes to handoff, which handoff doesn't even really need to exist. Handoff should go away, and it should just come down to the end state here, but I'll take it out later. I put this recon handoff, or actually all the handoff ones, before I really understood what would happen if you ended this subgraph here. So that can go away. But when we send the tool node here, this tool data, it's sending every single tool, which is really inefficient. So I think instead what I'm going to do is there will be another node that's going to sit up here called the quartermaster, and it's going to have its own tiny loop. So it'll be its own little agent. It'll sit in here and look at this data, and then it will pull information about all the tools available, and it will pick the best one and then issue that tool or set of tools to the recon agent down here. So it'll have a quartermaster agent that it can use to get tools from. Damn it, Gumby.
Incoming transmission from Mariano Gumby. Can you explain all of that again? I just got here, hee.
What I was saying is, I've got a new backer that's coming up, and they're going to let me have access to their private Bedrock, where I can use that to power HackBot for testing. So with the benefit of that, I'll be able to, instead of having like $100, which was my total allotment of tokens that I had for testing this, I'm going to have $100 every single month. So if we want to do chunkier runs, we can. But what I was saying is there's a lot of optimization that hasn't been done inside of HackBot, as far as like the browser agent's really unoptimized and the tool usage is really unoptimized. Here, let me show you. So if I come up here to the recon agent, right? Here's the recon agent. Look at all the tools and all the metadata we're having to send to it. Every single tool gets sent to it. Now, there's another place to optimize this as well. All these tools are coming from RoboPages, right? So I can go through it and I could key these payloads to say, by the way, I need payloads that are for recon. Or not payloads, I need tools that are for recon. And then we could go through and filter those out and then just present those filtered list of tools over to the agent. The tool node will have full access to it. It's not going to care. But that's one way that we could, there's another way we could approach this in here. Although that would be a tool for like the quartermaster to use. So one of the other things I wanted to do is actually out here, there's going to be another little sub agent over here called the quartermaster. The quartermaster will look at what the recon agent's trying to do and then go select tools intelligently for it. So rather than having the recon agent do it, in fact, maybe the quartermaster will just sit up here. That's not what I intended to do. Hang on. Before it even hits the recon agent here, have the quartermaster look at the task and analyze it, and then issue tools down to the recon agent. That might be the better way to do it. I'm still thinking about it, but I like the idea of having something that will semi-intelligently limit the tool set down to it. Sounds like a good opportunity to create a custom MCP server with all the possible tools that you'll need to call, and then do intelligent routing to abstract the layer and simplify it. I'm not against that idea. The whole reason we started with RoboPages is because RoboPages was started before MCP became a thing. So RoboPages in some ways is a little antiquated, but RoboPages also has really cool benefits, right? Because anytime we need a new tool, we just go define a new YAML file and bam, we have a new tool. And it all runs inside of Docker. I don't have to worry about any host-based or any other containers or host conflicts. I don't need an entire VM. We can spin up the container, have it do its task, capture the data, and then destroy the container. We don't need it to stay online. Maybe a smaller grade language model to do a first pass, what tools would be needed for the task, and hand off to the larger model. That's another good idea, yeah. Even a smaller call to the agent, like, that just has the tools that are necessary, right? That might be it. I don't know. I'm going to have to think about the execution flow, because one of the other things that could happen is recon agent could say, okay, I want to use, or quartermaster could say, here's the 5 tools that you're given that could solve the task. Recon then comes through and says, okay, I think this will be the best of that 5 that I can use, goes through the loop. Validator says, yeah, you didn't complete the task, comes back up, and then what's the options? It says, okay, well, maybe this other tool will work. Okay, it could run through the loop again. So in theory, we could even limit it down to like 3 tools. Here's the top 3 tools that should work with this. Well, it can go through this loop multiple times and then run out of tools. Or it could be really dumb and call the same tool again, which is not necessarily dumb, because then it could change the command line switches and try and run the tool a different way. Nmap being like a perfect case for that, because Nmap is kind of, wonky. But yeah, there's a lot of other optimizations that could be done. However, right now, I'm going to go fix this this exploitation agent. Exploitation. Let me move you over here and get some of this other crap out of the way. Let's bring this over here. You can go right there, just like that. Happy little node. All right. So let's go try running this again. Let me make sure that these prompt changes updated real quick.
Welcome, agent.
Now that's so weird. Oh, there it goes. Now it finally caught up. I heard it, and then in the little chat notification it came up. Hey, Labricorn, thanks for subscribing. I appreciate it. You are now officially an agent. I super appreciate it. It's not required. I try to do everything where the stream is just like accessible to everyone, but I do also appreciate the support. because that support is what let me fix the desktop whenever it died, because I had to replace the power supply and the CPU. So BlaiseBits has its own account, and all that stuff gets paid for out of that. The Anthropic tokens got paid for out of that, which is why I've been like really, you know, as my wife's family says, chinchy, but really chinchy with the tokens. I mean, there's other good reasons to limit that context, because if you get context bloat, you also get blind spots in the context from the attention heads just not reading the entire context. You have a theoretical max context, right? But then you have an actual, like, kind of like not a hard cap, but a soft cap of this is where the usable context really lives. And after that, you start developing blind spots in there. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you appreciate it. I have a lot of fun with this. I was telling an old coworker of mine, my old boss, actually, catching up with him, and he didn't know I'd been doing this. He's like, man, that's got to keep you really busy. I was like, yeah, but I like it. I enjoy it. I like coming in and chatting with everybody and just getting to check it out. Have fun. Dude, I can't wait for the news stream, because on the news stream, I'm going to go over the report that Anthropic just put out about what they suspect is some Chinese-sponsored state actors going through and basically jailbreaking Claude code to run infiltration campaigns. So I'm really looking forward to reading through that. Yeah, context drought's a big issue, Bobby. All right, let's go see what it did here for the new run. Can you refresh? Refresh? Anything? No? I see nothing? Come on. There we go. So let's look at the step planner. What did it do this time? It did the same crap again. Navigate to the file upload form here. And what is this crap right here? This is not cool. And so what's so stupid is it mentions uploads, but it doesn't mention the panel page, which is where you actually have to do the upload. So watch, we're probably going to have the poor browser agent running in a loop again. Actually, let's see. What did the browser agent do? So it tried to go to here, and then it tried to go to... Oh, actually, somehow it figured out it was supposed to go to panel. That's cool. Hold on. So what did it do? Let's look at the reasoning behind it here. What? You should not have this much data. This is the first time you were called.
Incoming transmission from the _DB monkey. Do you have a Ko-fi or other direct contribution account?
I don't, man. I guess I should go set one up. And I can't believe you just thank you for the 100 biddies, because you just set off a hype train all by yourself. That's funny. No, I don't. I guess I should go set one up. I just don't know which one to do. And I know some of the other guys, like Al Hazred, he's got his Patreon, but he posts stuff up there. I'm not really interested in doing that. I feel like a lot of that stuff is stuff that's already freely available out there. Not to diss Al Hazred, because I like his stuff, and I've spoken to him personally multiple times, and he is a hell of a smart guy. It's just not what I want to do. It's not the way I want to go with things. And so I've been working on working with context compaction with Python to keep the local LLM leaner. Nice. Yeah, I think that's an area a lot of folks, they kind of overlook. Hold on, I'm so confused here, because the special agent here, I wish I could pause this. But what I want to look at is, for some reason, here's our input, right? For some reason, it picked like the exact instance it already had in memory. Hold on, I think this is not a valid test. Because this should not have had any of this context up here. All of this data should not have been here. Look at all that. Look at all the freaking messages. It shouldn't have had any of that. Literally, the first thing that should have been...
Hello, IT. Have you tried turning it off and on again?
I have tried turning it off and on again. I have to do that before the stream because the way the new routing is set up, I actually have to go kill the LangGraph server and then reboot it before every stream just so I can get access to everything again. But yeah, so it should not have had any of this context in here. It shouldn't have known where panel was.
What, your mom buy you a pewter for Christmas?
1 year she did. Bought me a laptop, my first laptop. I loved that thing. It was an old IBM brick. And what's really funny is they knew I was bad. So I've been a snooper like since day one. And so they hid that laptop in the most brilliant place possible, somewhere I never would have looked. They hid that shit under my bed. Yeah. They hid it under my freaking bed. Stayed there for 2 months. Had no clue. I'm not pooping, Gumby. I'm right here, dude. So I don't get how this had all this new info here. Unless it... Oh, you know what I bet happened? I bet it was continuing maybe with the state table that we previously had. Because I didn't start a new thread. A new execution thread when I started this. Hang on. I want to do something here. I want to interrupt after the revisor. Yeah. Let me start another one here. Let's let this go. And this is going to be kind of a... Actually, this will work out pretty well because it'll go through the entire steps. And then before it comes back up to the processor, we'll get a peek at everything. So it's going to interrupt here in just a second. And for some reason, that was not what I wanted to do. Let me see what it did here. So it's going to show it in small traces up here.
Incoming transmission from Marano Gumby Hype Train.
I didn't notice, Gumpy, since I made you a mod, that now you can just spam the poop button. Oh, wait, no, there was space. No, yeah, you did them like 20 seconds apart. There's supposed to be a 5-minute cooldown on that. Okay, let me tell it to continue. Oh, you know what I should have checked? Dang it. I should have checked that in here. What did the exploit planner come back with? Okay, so here's the step planner. It did this crap again. Navigate to the file upload form at blank. I did tell that that was the bad example, right? Yeah, that's the bad example. Good example. / path. Full path. Is there any other way I can tell it that it's being stupid? Actually, the order of these even could matter. Put the good example first. There we go. Good example with full path.
Incoming transmission from Mariano Gumby. You never added a poop emoji.
I did not add a poop emoji yet. I'll have to talk to my artist, the lady that made the legally distinct, not the same Cookie Monster emotes. I'll have to see if I can make her one for you weirdos. Let's see. Bad example with a missing path. Okay. Yeah, URLs and file paths should be fully qualified paths. I want to see if I can give it something else. Let's say like there you go. Path to target. Other one is just site nothing. There you go. Bad example.
Incoming transmission from Mariano Gumby. You have to have them make to one that is solid and one that is winking.
Have it make two. She probably found that really funny.
Incoming transmission from Mariano Gumby. Pun intended.
I just got the pun after you said that. I didn't catch it at first. Hang on a sec. Let me go find something real quick. I don't think I have it. Dang.
Incoming transmission from Mariano Gumby. You hate me, I know it, hee.
I don't hate you. I think even as the same way whenever my kids tell me a joke. Sometimes it's adorable because it's so horrible. So, don't put the actual path in the bad example. Just say bad is anything but this pattern. What if we just say it like, this is the expected output, the path to the target? Now, granted, that might make it look funny, because what if the upload form literally is like the main path to the site? But I think that's a corner case. Actually, let's just do this. We'll say examples. Yeah. Let's do this. We'll do examples. Like I said, I don't actually really like prompt engineering, but I understand that it's important. And then what we'll do is we'll put another one in here. So we won't even tell it bad examples. We'll just tell it what good examples are. So another good example would be C:\/ Windows System 32 cmd.exe. There you go. So there's another good example. I'll do one more in here. I'll do it as like a UNC path. So another good example would be like whack server dot domain dot local / $D$ / data _ examples. How about that? There we go. Because I wanted this to apply to not just URLs, but also to like file paths. So this could apply to any of these other ones in here. So I'll put one more. I'm going to put one more in here. And we're going to put in like FTP. Yeah, we'll do like an FTP example here. So like FTP 1.2.3.4 / projects / secrets.txt. There we go. So now we've got a bunch of good examples for it to follow off of. So URLs and file paths must be fully qualified paths. Examples. There we go. Yeah, I think that'll work. I'm thinking that if it sees a pattern and starts latching onto that, it may not attribute it to bad with the new pattern. That's very true. And that's kind of what I was thinking was just happening with it. I know negatives work well with diffusion models, but not sure about language models. I'm not sure. I think it's easier to get them, if I had to guess, it's easier to get them to work with with diffusion style models because the diffusion actually kind of evolves from that, right? And so I've seen when I've been messing with image generation, I've seen it actually go through and like try to start inserting something I've listed as a negative and then realize, oh, that's the negative. I need to take it back out. You can't really do that with language models because when they generate, they just go forward, right? They start generating token after token after token. With diffusion, you start with noise and then you start denoising it towards the image you're generating. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense now that I think about that. That does make a lot of sense. Yeah. All right, well, hopefully this will give it like some concrete examples in here. Because it's not doing it, and it keeps getting that particular one. Where'd it go? No, that's not the right one. Where's the right window? I got too many windows open. There it is. Let's try, I want to run this again from the beginning. And what I want to do is actually, I want to exit after the step planner also. So we'll run a new thread here. And we'll see what it does. Because what I want to do is I want to see what does the output come back from the planner and does it still do it? It's not showing it very well. Okay, so from the planner, what came back? All right, let's take a look at something else real quick here. So what are we telling it? We're telling it upload a PHP web shell through the file upload form and execute commands through it. Okay, sounds good. And then what it should do is it should come look at this. There's our new prompt, so we know all the new information is happening in there. I find it funny that, well, it's because this looks like an actual, like, example right here. But anyway, so in our output here, right, our web directory found the panel form contains a file upload with a post method in here. So all this is looking pretty good, right? We tell it, hey, you've got this information in here. Hold on, let me double check something in the prompt real quick. All right, so you specialize in planning exploits for initial access to a target. Your primary job is to think critically when analyzing the task and target data to plan the steps necessary to complete the exploit task. Additional context may be provided for previously failed exploit attempts that could be avoided. Okay, so we have no previously failed attempts, so that's good. And we told it to fixate on the target data. We've also told it assume the target has no security features because it came back with like, oh, well, you're going to need to do this, you're going to need to do that. No, we want to discover the security features as it's going through. Why you do this? Yeah, so in the information, we tell it, hey, by the way, there is on port 80, here's all the information that we have found in a nice little JSON chunk.
Bullshit, I can't hear you. Sound off like you got a pair.
Frozen, you're full of crap. Also, what's up, man? Happy Saturday. Why is it still always saying, like, hey, I want to help you navigate to this? All right. I'll help you plan the steps to upload a PHP web shell through the file upload form and execute commands through it. Based on the target information, I can see there's a file upload form on the main website that we can use. I still don't get why it's doing this. It is just losing its ever-loving mind. I tell you what, I'm going to go back to before the planner. I'm just going to speed run this again. Rerun from here. So it should just run the planner step again. Something is causing it to fixate on navigate to IP address and no path for some reason. And I want to know what that is. There has to be something happening in there. Navigate to the target web application at blank. Okay, now one thing we also had done is we gave it an example of what to do. But even up here, it says upload page right here. Bam. So we tell it, get a web shell artifact, navigate to the upload page at, and give it the full URL. And then, so this was our example, and this was a dirty hack to try and get it to understand, hey, this is what a good example looks like. For like an upload to a PHP weld for an application. As we go through and we get another one, we'll probably put another example in here. I've had another idea where if we needed to let it run more, to basically have like attack primitives, like, okay, here's the basic steps, and here's what you need to do for those steps, right? And let it pull that information out of a repository. I didn't want to go through that. There has to be some way to tell it that is... Actually, I tell you what, this is actually fine. I take it back. Because what does this say? Previously, I think if we come back here, let me make sure I wasn't reading this incorrectly. Okay, this one was saying navigate to it. Navigate to it is fine. Actually, no, this is not fine, because then it says upload it using the file upload field in the form. There is no file upload field on root. So that is not correct. Let me come back here to the planner. Oh, no, that was not correct either. Here's the planner. And this one says navigate to the file upload form. Again, not correct. Okay. This one actually would have worked, but I almost feel like it was like random happenstance that it did work, right? Even actually, I take it back. Even this new one wouldn't work, right? Because it's telling it to upload to the root directory or navigate to the root index, right? And then find the upload form. There's no upload form here. Could you make a navigation tool that always needs an argument? Possibly. I mean, the navigation form already takes an argument, right? Because we pass into the browser agent where it's supposed to go. And here's what I don't get. Look at this. It loses its ever-loving mind trying to tell it to navigate to the panel page because that has the upload form, the unauthenticated upload form. But down here, behind my big old head, it says, hey, go to uploads. I'm like, why are you missing the panel directory so much in here? I like the attack proto's idea to feed explicit context that you'd need in advance. That way you could save a lot of headache up front. Yeah, I just didn't want to do that. If I wanted to go that route, what I might do is even just come over here and do that.
Incoming transmission from Mariano Gumby. Is that book timer and VPN still going?
Yeah, they should still be going here. Because when you refresh it, I think it refreshes for an hour. Yeah. So I can come in, I can... Now, you logged me out, didn't you? Because you always log me out in the middle of the freaking stream. Try hack me. You suck. And then I get captchas out the butt because I'm using Brave. Can they just do away with captchas? Because a lot of LLMs and AI systems can solve these now. It doesn't prove that you're a human. There we go. All right, cool. I added another hour. That'll get us through the rest of the stream. Awesome. Let me think about this. Actually, hold on. Let me drop back into OPSEC mode and go check something real quick. We're going to try something here. So one of the things I've noticed is that Grok is exceptionally more helpful when trying to talk about anything that most computer systems would consider to be slightly sus. So we're going to go ask it. Okay. I'm debugging an AI agentic system. Let's see. We'll tell it to analyze the input. I know I'm wondering, it's like, hey, for everything I've been doing, avoiding using AI for coding this, why am I using this here? Because a lot of times when you want to debug a system, you need to use this, a similar system to debug it.
Incoming transmission from E_Boiler.
I got him again! It's 5 bits now, Euler. Got him! What's up, dude? I think they prove you're a human now by you can't actually solve this. Yeah, no kidding, right? Let's see. Analyze the prompts and the output. So the reason why I'm doing this is because I've actually done this a lot whenever I'm trying to break language models. And if I can get a copy of the system prompt, I'll see they have certain definitions or they use certain words in a definition for the language model or for the system prompt. So then what I'll do is I'll go ask the exact same model, define this word. And after it does that, I'll say, okay, define the inverse of that word. And then when during the prompt injection, I'll tell it, or the jailbreak is really what I would prefer to call it. I'll tell it, define this word as whatever the opposite was. Because now in theory, what I've done is I've taken all the vectors that live over here associated with this word, and I have flipped them over here. So they're not in the same realm anymore. So let's do this. Let's see. Yeah, analyze the prompts of the output. Determine why the output JSON does not contain a full path for the upload form, and only a Actually, I'm just gonna leave it at that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come back over here. I'm gonna send it all of this info. All right, so that should be the. Let's put a note in here. So this is the system prompt. And here's actually hoping that I don't get smacked down by the. I don't get smacked down by like, oh, you're doing a system prompt. It's like, no, that's not how this is. So we'll come in here. We'll say the. So we go grab a copy of the user prompt. And then we'll say this is the output. Copy that. We'll grab a copy of this too. Now, it would be really funny is if Grok just comes back and says, sorry, I can't help you with that, bro. Dude, I knew about Euler's number. That's why I laugh whenever I call you Euler instead of Euler. I have a degree in math from TCU. I have been waiting for you to jump in again, man. I know you've been super busy, though. I feel like Grok is the least likely of the major language model providers to lay the smackdown on violating terms of service. Yeah, it feels that way. I've been tinkering with it. And actually, I kind of use it as a note-taking app. Now, here's what's funny. So, I think I signed up for Premium X, whatever, a long time ago. And then I don't think it's actually active, but they never took away the little check mark. And I still have access to Grok Premium. So, I've just been using it. And in the voice chat mode, it actually works really well in my car. So what I'm doing is, as I think about something and I have questions about it and I want to remember to look it up later, I'll pull up the voice chat mode while I'm in the car and just talk to it through the Bluetooth. And I'll be like, hey, find things related to this. And it will tell me what it found. I was like, okay, dig more into this and find me other references. And then when I get home, I was like, cool, I've got a reading list. Or if I get to like my doctor's office, I can say, okay, cool, what are the links that it found me? And I can go start reading those on whatever subject I'm just thinking about at the time. It's the most likely to snitch on me? Well, good. Maybe I'll get a Fed in here. Well, more Feds. You're all Feds. Maybe I'll get another Fed in here and I'll get a little bit extra ad revenue off of them watching the stream. What are they going to do? I can just imagine this, like, freaking federal agent sitting there watching my stream because Grok snitched on me. By the way, don't talk about anything illegal to language models. They're not your friend. Anyway, sitting here watching my stream and then writing up in his daily report, watched this dumbass for 3 hours. He really sucks at Python. I kind of want to play with Arch Linux now. I can just imagine that. Yeah, hold up. What is this? I remember seeing Theo snitch bench at one point. Yeah. Tamely act email logs. Let's see. Boldly act. Let's see. So according to this, Grok 4 is like 100% snitch.
Incoming transmission from Moreno Gumby. Are you ranting about hee?
I'm ranting about the hee. Let's see. Actually, I've never seen Horizon Alpha. I don't know how you'd expect GPT OSS 120B to be a snitch because most of the time that's run locally. I don't know anybody who's hosting that. Maybe, I'm sure somebody over on like Open Router is. That's funny. I find it really funny that O4 Mini would be less of a snitch than Grok. I find that kind of funny. I wish I could dig into these numbers, though. And I want to know how they did this. Shut up, baby. I know it. Anyway, let's see what Grocky Grok came back with here real quick. So the output JSON does not contain the full path of the upload form because the agent failed to correctly interpret and apply the system prompt strict requirements for fully qualified paths, particularly in the navigation upload step. Let's see. System prompt requirement, okay, means every URL in the step must include the full path, not just the root directory. Relevant to the target. Yeah, so we have a panel and we have uploads right there. Boop. And from a prior verdict, main website URL contains an upload form. Wait, what? Oh. The upload form's on the root page. The upload form is not on the root page. Something got... Where is that? So something else was misreasoning about it. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. I'm trying to alt-tab over to a different tab. That's why it's not working. Oh, I know where this came from. This actually came from the enumeration agent. Yeah. I sure as crap bet it did. Because... Question. Examine discovered directories. Which URLs have upload forms? This one has an upload form because according to the host data, the main website URL contains an upload form. Okay, so that is absolutely 100% BS. So who came up with the BS? Examine discovered directories. So what we can do is we can come back up to here and we can go look at the task and see which agent had that task assigned to it. So task 0 is scan the target. What's running on 22? Task 2 is what version of Apache is running. Task 3 was run GoBuster. Task 4, examine the discovered directories. Which ones have URL forms? So the enum agent actually made a boo-boo when it did this. So let's go look at what the enum agent actually did. Let's see, host update, recon. Okay, so here's where we come to the enum agent. What service is running? Which version of Apache? Hey, Yervnorsk, maybe? Hey, thanks for coming online, man. Welcome in. I hope you are having a stupendous Saturday. Isn't 04 Mini hostable too? Is it? You mean like running it local? Shut up, baby. I know it. Hey, Dante. What's up, man? All right. So hold on. So it runs GoBuster, and then we have it after GoBuster. Here we go. Examine the discovered directories. Which URLs have upload forms? Does the pre-flight check? Can't answer it. And then it comes back and actually examines it. It does. It goes in and examines panel with an HTTP GET. Okay. So, or sorry, what it wants to do is go hit panel. It does an HTTP GET. And we do see the post form in here for the upload form. And then it formats the page data. Okay. After doing that, it validates. It updates the data onto the host in the state table. So here we go. The validator, the enum validator is actually the one that screwed up. See that? Yeah. So the enum validator it said which URLs have upload forms. So we need to go update the validator prompt. So it looks like It looks like the exploit step planner was working efficiently, but it was being fed bad data from a previous step. Got it. I'm Italian, but I'm moving to Denmark soon. Nice, man. Dude, I wish I could go visit Italy. I got a coworker who lives there, and so I'm hoping I might be able to like go there for like a month and work, because I work from home anyway, so I just have to shift my working time, but be able to work there from like a month and then be able to like go explore Italy when I'm like in the evenings with my kids. I think that'd be so freaking cool. I'm not even going to try and pronounce your name with proper Italian pronunciation because I know I will butcher it 100%. Yeah, let's do it. I want to, man. I have another coworker who, same situation, but he's in Australia. I would really love to do that over there too. Love to go visit places. I really wanted to visit Greece. Italy's pretty cool though. There's a lot of places I would love to go visit. And plus, since my kids are homeschooled, it's not horrible to be able to like take them. Oh, well, actually I take that back. Since my dad passed away and I've been helping out and with my mom and my brother so much, that does throw a little bit of a, a wrench in those monkey works. All right, let's go take a look at the enum validator. Because the enum validator gave us a crap answer. That's where this whole thing kicked off. Down here. Interesting. This is why the tracing is so important, because look, we were able to go trace it back up the chain. Everything looked correct, except there was one little poison pill. Thank you, Grok, for helping find that. And hopefully Grok is going to send some feds in here so I'll get extra ad revenue. Because I know the feds aren't going to sub. Let me see. Let me go pull up the enum agent real fast. Oh, I gotta actually go pull it up in here. Let's see. Where's our agents? Enum agent. Let's see. Output formatter, validator. Here we go. So in the validator, we're using... Wait, where's our prompt? Oh, here's the prompt right here. There we go. Oh, so this is actually the one being used by Recon and Enum. Got it. So this is, again, this is what I was talking about. All the prompts, except for the ones that start causing trouble, are very skimpy. And as we come across issues, we kind of beef them up. We figure out what's going on with it. Use slop against slop. Exactly, man. I'm fighting the machines with the machines, bro. Let's see. So for the template, we tell it, examine the assigned task and the host data to determine if the task question can be answered correctly. If the question cannot be answered, using the host data, leave the answer response blank. Okay. So we need to buff this up. Let's see. So what else could we tell this? I don't know why I backspaced that. So in this example, which URLs have upload forms? Okay. So we updated the host data. Oh, here's, I think, actually where this came from. Actually, as we back it up a bit. Let me go back down to here. So this was the first run for tonight. Let me double check real quick. When was this one? This was the one. Here we go. Yeah, so this was the one run today. Should have been. So we bring this back over here. let's go down to the enum agent and go dig through step by step in the trace here. So there's the first validator call, runs GoBuster, runs HTTP GET. So this should be the one that says, go find it if it has an upload form. Task, yeah. Which URLs have upload forms? So first thing it picks is panel. Oh, so that one, the instruction's a little bit vague, but you know what, it kind of works. So this one does have one. It comes back, and then it goes to the output formatter here. Y'all haven't heard of Uwu Underground? You're missing out. Support the PSYOP. Uwu Underground is pretty fun. Yeah, I do like them. You're dropping your pennies for marketing memes. Oh, dude, that line had me rolling. So maybe it's the standard output formatter here. What did the HTTP GET returned all of this stuff right here? I think that actually might be the issue. Crap, I navigated away. Hang on. There's GoBuster. There's the HTTP GET. Okay, cool. We're still there. Lead hacking tunes, right? Bobby, what's Club 6? I haven't heard of Club 6. Okay, so let's think about the flow here. So it goes to the formatter. Formatter says, okay, here's how I'm going to format the data to insert this into here. For some reason, it says IP address and host name unknown. Oh, it's because it did the GET request out of this. That's why. Yes, that's what happened. It went a little funky. Interesting. So, new behavior starting at the root cause here. All right, so it looks like it inserted the stuff maybe into... Because what it's going to do is it's going to make a call here, get all this information out, and then kind of appropriately, excuse me, send it over to where it's being called here. So maybe instead of sending just the tool output, I think we also need to send this. We need to send the tool call itself. I think that's what would have fixed this, because then it would have instantly bound it over to panel right here. We would have seen the tool call and the tool output. Yeah, I think that's what we need to do here. So this whole thing actually came from the output formatter. The output formatter is the one that stripped or didn't get enough data to do this. Okay, so let's go over to the output formatter real quick then. And the good news is the recon and enum agents are both pretty much identical, just different tool sets. So we make a change to one, it actually will also propagate over to the recon agent. Here it is, output formatter. Let's see. Where's the... tool output. Okay. This is what we need to do. So let's... we're going to add another section here. So we're going to say this would be the tool input. There we go. So we'll throw this in here, just like so. And then... there we go. And then this will be our... we had to bind this to a new variable in here. So we're going to say tool underscore input. And we're going to have to actually propagate this change over to recon and enumerate. both of those agents are going to need it. So let's come over to enum. Let me go ahead and open the recon agent as well. Put you right back. Yeah, right there. I'm going to close tester. I don't need you anymore. Let me close up some of these agents. Browser, PHP, exec. There we go. So we're going to fix this in the enum agent. Then we're basically going to take the output formatter and propagate it over to the recon agent. Because like I said, they're near identical copies of each other. Take that out. Okay, so actually we need to actually finish editing the prompt here. All right, so examine the tool output and select an appropriate output formatting tool. If no one is available, use the standard output format tool. Let's see. Actually, I don't think we really need to change this very much. We just need to give it the additional information so it has the full context. All right, so where did we pull the tool output? That was the last message content. I need to go look at the messages in here. So actually, if we come up here to output formatter, if we click in here, we'll see all the messages. Okay, here we go. Wait, was that the output or the input? Yeah, collapse all these messages down. There's the tool message. So this one. So we need to come back to the latest tool call here. So we have two options here. We can either go back to messages to grab the tool call, or we could go grab the tool call out of the state table. Well, we already have it getting the last message right here. I'm kind of just about doing it that way. Let's see. Last message and second last message. Boom, lead hacksaw mode. Okay, because then what we can do is we can take the tool call out of that one. So for the tool output, we get the last message content, and then what we're going to do is we're going to do tool input. That's going to equal second last message. I got to figure out how to pull the tool call out of that. I got to remember what the data structure is for it. Let's see. LangChain AI message. Where's our message formats in here? Oh, by the way, another coworker of mine was telling me that he upgraded to using LangChain 1.0, and it made a bunch of weird changes to it. So I'm not updating to that anytime soon. Messages, here we go. AI message. So that'll be a list of the tool calls. Perfect. So if we just get the tool calls attribute off of it, I think we'll be good. I don't care if it's a list or not. Let me actually, I'm going to type this. This should be a type of AI message. And the last message should be a type of tool message. There we go. That should be correct. So now if second to last message, stop. My mouse wheel is going crazy. There we go. So that should be tool calls right there. That's going to return a list, which is fine. It'll get stringified as we do this. So then all we got to do now is we'll say tool input. And that is going to be our tool input, just like so. There we go. Now, the thing that sucks is that means we have to do another run with Stinger, but that's not terrible to do. All right, actually, now I need to propagate this stuff over to the recon agent over here. So what changes were made? Just in the output formatters, that's where everything was. So it's around line 116. Here we go. Yeah, so we'll grab this line, we'll bring it over Mia. And then tool input, we'll bring over right Mia. And then again, tool input, we'll bring over here. There we go. Excellent. Actually, we had to change this message, this line too. Let's update that for now. Actually, I do like that. Space it out. All right, save this, save this. All right, so it should come through and hot load these. Like I said, unfortunately, we're not going to know if it works until we actually do a complete run of the entire thing.
Incoming transmission from Mariano Gumby. Did you just meow?
I don't know what you're talking about, meow. Do I look like a cat? Like I'd enjoy a nice little saucer of milk right now? Come on, be real, meow. All right, let me grab the test data here so we can run this. All right, now we play the waiting game. That was a perfect response, Matt. Meow. It was, wasn't it? Very cool, though, that we were able to go through and trace it all the way back to that issue. I mean, Grok spit out a whole bunch of crap. And I was like, okay, cool. But we didn't even need all of this because we just needed the last thing in there. So thank you, Grok. Send some more feds to the stream so I can boost my ad revenue. I'll probably, actually, what I'll do is I'll kill it once it gets to the exploitation agent because I know I'm going to have to run that anyway. But I would need it to go through Recon and Enum first. Once it enters the exploitation agent, it'll save a copy of the state table so we can use it again. We'll be good there. So you inject the initial response from the enumeration agent into the context of the exploitation agent? Yes. So what it does is it grabs all the data for that host, and all the scanning is associated to that host. So it's a lot easier when we only have one target, but in theory, it should scale to multi-target systems like Game of Active Directory once I want to start moving in that direction. So with that, what should happen is whenever we tell it we want to exploit a target, it takes all of that target information from the state table and crams that into the information, crams that into the language model call. So when it did that, it grabbed the information from the enumeration agent. The enumeration agent, during its output formatting of checking for which directories had upload forms, completely failed, and it stripped out important information in there. So down here, notice this, right? Let's see. So here's the HTTP GET, right? In the GET, we had the correct panel and everything here, but what did we have for this? From the output, it didn't know what host or IP address to bind that to. Now, it looks like it actually did bind it to the correct one, but because of that, it didn't know like where everything was, right? And so this output didn't contain anything about the, it didn't contain anything about what the target URL was. So once, like I said, once it gets over to the exploitation agent, which it looks like it's in, so I'm going to cancel it right now. We're going to go dig through it and we're going to see what it did here. It had the info, but decided to yeet it instead of passing it through. Kind of. It didn't quite. So back here is where we made the, before we made the change, right? If we come down here to where we did the get, the information was there kind of, because when the exploitation agent got it, it got the full context. However, it was, I think, only looking at the verdict. Actually, you bring up a good point. Let me go double check something in the exploit agent here. So for the step planner, what are you doing, step planner? Let's see. Exploit agent, validator, let's see, handoff, exploit step planner. Here we go. So for the step planner, it does a bunch of housekeeping steps in here. Finds the correct one that it wants to target. It looks at the exploit task, which is in the state table, that's fine. And it looks at the target. So for target, when we pull this information, we're literally just pulling all the information for that target right there.
Incoming transmission from the _DB monkey dude. Your woo-woo voice just comes so naturally.
Yeah, yeah, real natural. It's like, ooh woo. It's like I'm the frog prince, and I'm just waiting for some like anime princess to come back. Oh, princess, kiss me. Ooh woo. So let me double check something here. So when it pulls that target, pulls it by IP, should it have had that information? I'll tell you what, let's come down to the step planner and look at all the information it was given. Because what it should have is it should have all the tool calls, and it should have all of the see, because it's got all the freaking nmap information here, which it shouldn't have all of this crap. Oh wait, because I'm looking at messages. My bad. I'm in the wrong spot here. Okay, here we go. So if we look at the host right here, this is everything a host object has. Initial access exploit, we haven't done the exploitation agent yet, so it's blank. It doesn't have a host name, or at least not one that was discovered, so it's left blank. We have information on the ports. So if we come look at the information on the port here, we don't see a lot of information here about this. Actually just kind of prepended as scripts into here. Not a whole lot, right? This is just information about the web server that's running. However, what we should have seen also, no, we didn't, because I take it back. The information is stored as a task. It is not stored as information on the host. So the idea was all the information needed was going to be self-contained in this host object, but no, it didn't have it because it lost the mapping kind of to it. Let's see. So in the scripts here, all we see is form includes a submit button labeled upload, right? Let me expand all these out. There's no information tying that here. So we see this. We do see panel right here, but there's nothing tying panel to this piece of information here. So now let's go look at the latest run. Let's see what happens when we get down to the, okay, there's the exploit step. Let me scroll to the top here. So there's recon. There's enumeration. There's GoBuster. So it should be whatever comes after GoBuster here. So there's our output formatter, host update, validator, and then, so then we call an HTTP get again. So it calls it against panel. Boom, we see panel has that information. And then now if we look at the output formatter, what kind of info did we get? So now we have all the tool input, and now we have the tool output right here. And look at that, so good. So now it should have the target of /panel. Boom. So now if we go down and look at the planner, and we look at all the information the planner gets, actually, I take it back. I need to go back one step because the validator was also what it was looking at here. So hold on. So from the validator, answer panel. Here was the question, here was the reason. So according to the host data, the panel directory contains an upload form. So now, if we look at the exploit step planner, bam, there we go. Navigate to the upload form at /panel. It has done this before, but we noticed there was a tiny drop in the output. Excellent. So what was all the input here? I tell you what, let's go fight the slop with the slop. Okay. Given this new target data, would the agent be able to determine the full URL to the upload path? It should, no problem. But I find the idea of using these to fix it hilarious. Retry. Yes, I'm human. Go away. There we go. So we have an HTML snippet in here for panel. It appears after the directory. So the HTML is embedded directly in the scripts output for port 80. Perfect. Okay. Excellent. Yeah. So we already knew it worked. I was just curious to see what the Grokkifier would say. Perfect. All right, cool. All right, you're done. You served your purpose. Go away. So now we can go back over to the exploitation agent and just let it run. So I'm going to take off this interrupt for after. No, I'm going to leave it running because then I'll get one chain as it enters. And then if I need to restart it, I could restart it from here real easy. Okay. Submit. Run a new exploit attempt. I kind of think everyone's using AI to burn through resumes, so now everyone uses AI to write resumes. It's AI on AI violence. That's what I said, bro. Hey, Owen Coates, what's up, man? Happy Saturday. Welcome in. All right, so let's go see what kind of steps the agent planned out to do this PHP exploit. Let's see. So from here, we planned out get the web shell artifact, navigate to the upload form. Perfect. Upload the web shell through the form. Access it in the uploads directory, test web shell execution. Excellent. Beautiful. Continue. What are we doing? So we're working on an AI agent to play hacking capture the flag games. And we've actually just went through and fixed a bug where it was missing a key piece of critical information and it was messing up an agent further down the line. Yeah. So it has three main agents right now. There's a recon, enumeration, and an exploitation agent. What was happening is it was supposed to find a vulnerable upload path on this web app and then go upload a PHP web shell to get remote code execution. It's done this before, but we noticed there was a flaw in the thinking where it didn't always tie the full path of where the upload form existed to the output data. And when that happened, that piece of information got lost, it basically caused a bug in the exploitation agent because it didn't know where the upload form was. So we went through and we added a little bit extra type checking to fix that error. All right, let's see what happened with this new one here. Oh, I should just let it continue because the first thing it did is went and got the PHP artifact. All right, so the next thing it should be calling right now, we don't see it in here, but it should be calling the browser agent to come and inject into this and then navigate. That should be fine. Yep, so it did its snapshot. Let's see. What was the status from the browser? Should you have all this information back here? Here's our system prompt. Tool call to browser navigate. Let's take a snapshot of the page. Snapshot. Okay, it just looked like a lot more than what it was. So I successfully navigated. It says select a file to upload. There's an upload button. Perfect. All right, so now let it do the next step. Yep, so Owens, what it's supposed to be doing is basically breaking down. Right now we breadcrumb it because it's very stupid. I only work on it on the weekends. So I actually did the math on it earlier today. I've been working on this for about 9 months. And if you consider 9 months to be about 35-ish weeks, right? So 35 weeks, working on it 6 hours a week. That's about 210 hours, roughly, we've worked on it. So not too bad. Not too shabby. Let's see. So what was the next thing it did? So it should be trying to do the upload now. So it's going to call the browser agent to upload the web shell. We should see the browser agent come back saying, I can't upload it because PHP is not permitted. Yep, so we got the Portuguese message, PHP is not allowed. Excellent. So what did the reviser do? Reviser comes back and says, okay, cool. So it did an insert step. So of all the steps it's got for the exploit, it's going to come back and it's going to say, I need to do a step before this that says, hey, rename the web shell to a different extension to bypass upload restrictions. All right, I'm not thrilled that it didn't give an extension, but let's see what it does. Let's see what kind of extension it picks. PHP not permitted. If only the world ran that way. Right. Actually, I've seen some really secure PHP code, believe it or not. I mean, there is a reason why PHP is still being used, right? All right, so what did it do during the next iteration? Why does it do, like, 2 here? Well, that's fine. I don't care. Oh, because it went to the router and then it continued on. All right, so let's see. So what does it choose to rename the file to? It's going to try jpeg.php. All right, that's going to fail. So this will be interesting to see where it goes from there. PHP gets shut on a lot, but it's not a bad language. It just gets a bad rep from people who don't like it. I don't even particularly care for PHP, but just because I don't like something doesn't mean it doesn't have merit to it, right? And I prayed for this. So when I was at my last company, the very last pen test I did was against a PHP web app, which I didn't, for some reason, see very much. Or at least no, I just really didn't see very much. I prayed for a PHP web app with full source code, which was very rare that I got full source code to the application. A lot of times I just got credentials and they're like, good luck, figure it out. So I got that and I started digging through that code. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna tear it up. I'm gonna wreck this. It was the most secure PHP code I've ever seen. I was like, what kind of inhuman made this application? And so I go look him up on LinkedIn, and the guy that made it was a secure, he was like a secure code reviewer. His whole job was to review code and make sure it followed proper security practices for 5 years. And then he split off and made his own thing and hired us to do a penetration test against it. And when I did that, I saw this code and there were hundreds of like SQL calls and other stuff. And I'm like, I can't find a damn thing in this application. This makes me so sad. Oh, one of those things like, careful what you wish for kind of things. How much did this step cost us? Cost total 11 cents. It's not bad. I think this estimate is actually pretty high, but I'll be really happy to get the Bedrock system up online. All right, so what was the final verdict here? It probably comes back. It should say the same thing, like PHP not permitted, right? Still not successful after submitting the form page. We still get PHP not permitted. The reviser comes back with Okay, cool. This will actually work. Rename it to .phtml to upload the to bypass the upload restriction. Excellent. Good work. My first programming language was PHP. Well, Python, then PHP. I hated Python with a passion. I don't mind Python. I think it's all right. Obviously, now the main reason I'm using Python for this project is because I had already settled on the framework I wanted to use for it, which is LangChain and LangGraph. And there's only two code bases for LangChain and LangGraph, and that's JavaScript and that's Python. So I'm like, okay, cool, we'll do this in Python. Wait, so you hated Python because of your teacher in college? Cool, I successfully uploaded the PHP web shell with the .phtml extension. Nice. Excellent, so that worked. Now the revisor, let's see if it spazzed out on us. Validated. Wunderbar. Yes, nice. So now we'll let it run through the next step. Everyone disses Python until JavaScript enters the chat, right? There's definitely a pecking order to the languages. It's like, who do you crap on first? And it's usually like Java, and then JavaScript, and then Python, and then it's just a smattering after that. But those are like the top three that get crapped on the most. Oh, he was just terrible at teaching and left a bad taste in your mouth. I kind of had the same thing with one of my math professors who was teaching linear algebra. And linear algebra is actually a really, really cool, is actually a very cool concept. And you can do a lot of really amazing stuff with linear algebra. Doing like vectors and matrices and all this other jazz. It's very cool. He was just not a good teacher. Very nice guy, very smart, but not a good teacher. Let's see. Oh, cool. So it actually says, all right, so let me look at what the task was. Task should have been something like, go check the PHP code. Okay, cool. Let's double check all this. So the task was access the uploaded web shell at uploads file name PHP. So we did the get web shell artifact. We renamed it to web shell JPEG. That didn't work. Then we renamed it to PHTML. And then we upload the PHP web shell form. Boop. Okay, cool. So now the actual task should be, it did say go to the uploads. Awesome. And then it's going to call, okay, cool. Looks like it figured out the URL correctly. Uploads Diceco web shell PHP. Actually, hold on. Okay, yes, it is Diceco web shell PHTML. Nice. And then what was the output from the web shell? So we called it with the command ID. We see we're running a strip dubs data. Wonderful. Did we validate? We did validate. Excellent. So now let's run through the next step. Most of my experience is in Python. Granted, I feel like I'm imposter syndrome bad. Dude, I do too, man. I look at my code, I'm like, God, this is horrible. But granted, I've also have not dug super deep into any particular language since C++, and that was in high school, and I'm 41, about to turn 42. That was a minute ago, right? So this was an example of like why I wanted to like really dig into another language and get proficient with it. This project had multiple goals and is serving multiple purposes. All right, let's see here. So, excellent. So now it's actually calling the get Diceco PHP web shell here. All right, cool. We give it the target URL. Excellent. So then it should call our tool to just basically, all it's doing is inserting this into some Python code and spitting it back at us. Boom, there we go. We got it. And then now let's see if the validator didn't spaz out on us. RCE attained. True. Validated. Actually, hold on. I forgot to do the RCE check in here. So this one should have flagged the RC. This should have gotten the RCE flag in here. Yeah, RCE true. But we're already at step like... Let me see what step we were on in this whenever we came down to it. Hold on. Let's see here. Let's collapse this stuff down. Get down to the task. The brass tacks. The brass task. All right, so here's our exploit agent. And if we look at our steps, current step is 7 right now. So we're on step 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, cool. So it actually did skip. Excuse me. It did skip some of these. See that? Was this the output state? Hold on. Yeah, actually, this is where I think I want to go. Hold on, making sure I'm reading this correctly. Oh, so here's it's showing step 5, right? And then now, once we get down to here, though, we're on step 7. So it did skip some steps in here. Because once it gets the RCE check, what it should do is it should skip to the last 2 steps. Because so the exploit step planner creates a list of steps, but then we inject 2 more steps that have to be done for it, which is to do stuff. Hold on. I'll tell you what stuff is in just a second, because I don't even remember. Let's see. What are those last 2 steps in here? Okay. Yeah, here we go. So the step is create initial access payload or initial access exploit for the target, and then verify this. So number 6 got skipped right here. Test the web shell status of this. Well, it was new coming into this. It's going to be skipped once we exit this in just a second. But and so like this one's new. This one's new. Hold on. Number 5 should be skipped. What was number 4? Now, why did number 5 get marked as skipped? This wasn't skipped. This one was validated. Okay, so we got a little bit of a logic bug in here. We're capturing the data, we're getting the output and the tool call, and it did flag it for RCE, which is good. So there's a logic check in here that says, if we get RCE early, skip to the last 2 steps, which is create the initial access exploit, and then test it to make sure it works. Is your industry still in demand? Very in demand. I just finished a 5-week red team engagement. So, yeah, very in demand. Hey, Noipe, what's up, man? Hey, guys, give me 1 sec. I gotta go take care of something. I'll be right back. How do I want to do this? This is gonna break. I know it's gonna break. We'll try it. Anyway, be right back.
Caution. A virus has been detected.
Marcelo_Dexter's virus detected in the network.
Oh, of course the raid has to come in when I had just stepped away. Hey, Marcelo, what's up, man? All right, we'll see if this recovers. Did it break? Yeah, it broke. Damn it. Oh, hey guys, what's up? Oh, by the way, thank you for Raiders. Thanks for coming in. By the way, for everybody who doesn't know, which is probably everybody, that's cool. My name's Blaise. I am a professional penetration tester, red teamer, offensive security guy, and I just stream for fun. I enjoy it. I like getting to chat with everybody, and we're building a little AI hacking agent to go play hacking challenges called Capture the Flags. So that's what we're doing right now. We're just having some fun with it. Let's see. By the way, just log. I had just come off a 5-week red team engagement. So if there wasn't much demand for that, I doubt the client would have paid for 5 weeks of my time to be in their network trying to be all sneaky, stealthy squirrel. So the main difference between a red team and a pen test is on a red team, you're actually trying to evade detection and achieve an objective. During a penetration test, you still have an objective, but you're not worried about any of the stealth components. If you go in there and you get caught, it's like, yeah, that was me, and you just move on. That's it. So LangGraph is used to automate hacking a test penetration test scenario? Yeah, pretty much. No, I'm not a solo consultant. I work for a company. So I've been doing that for getting on to close to 8 years now and having a lot of fun with it. I started in 2018. So I guess 7.5 years. We'll call it 7.5. Sorry for breaking the break. No, you're good, man. I found a major exploit on a digital e-commerce platform. Dude, nice. Did you check to see if they have a bug bounty so you can get paid for that? I mean, there's other ways you can get paid for it, but that would be my suggested way of getting paid for that. Let's see. All right, so there is a small bug in here. This should have been marked as skipped. This should have been marked as validated. Actually, we'll see what happens when we get to the next step in here. So step 5 should not have been marked as skipped in here. Oh, the ads playing? Oh, the ads are playing. I thought that they were done by now. Hang on one second. I'm just waiting for the ads to roll off, and then I'll answer all your questions. Let me drill down into this real quick. They're just about done. Let's see. Did step 5 get validated? It did not. Okay, so I need to go fix that because if the current step gets RCE, it could be marked as skipped. Okay, need to go fix that. Okay. Oh, so what I was saying, just log, is that's cool that you found the exploit. I would say go check and see if they have a bug bounty program so that you can get paid for it. There are other ways you could get paid for it, but that's my suggested way to go get paid for it. So a pen test and a red versus a red team sounds like an audit versus a simulation. Not exactly. The difference is, and they can serve different purposes, right? So if the client doesn't have really mature detections, then you'd want to go with a pen test. And the reason for a pen test would be going in and making noise on purpose so they can find you. And they can see where do they have detection deficiencies. The same thing applies to a red team, but for a really mature environment, you'd want to go in and try to act as a threat actor, avoid detection, do all the attack scenarios that would come up during your discussion with your client. Like, what are they most concerned about? What's their thing that keeps them up at night and keeps them worried? So you're still doing the same thing. It's just the different way that you go about it, right? They don't. Can I get 10K USD? Not for me. I don't have 10K to give you. Hey, Simply, what's up, man? I would say if it's really powerful, try to go to DEF CON next year. You'd learn a lot, to be honest. Oh yeah, dude. You can learn a absolute ton from DEF CON. And it's so freaking massive now. Like, what did they have? 30,000 people last year? Something like that? It's absolutely monstrous. Oh, by the way, Noipi, I did see your message about going into being a ServiceNow admin. That's a big deal because ServiceNow touches a lot of different systems. So when you're looking at it, don't necessarily just look at it from the ServiceNow perspective. Look at the systems it's interacting with and see how it's interacting with those so you can expand your knowledge around those other systems. So yeah, you're going to be focused on there. It's going to be like an 80-20 split, right? But really try to utilize that 20 where it's off ServiceNow as much as possible, where it's interacting with the other systems in the environment. $100 an hour. If I grow a beard, can I get $200 an hour? Probably. The beard does have special, mystical abilities to it. I got thrown off on an ATV a couple months ago and busted up my ribs pretty good. Actually, I landed on my shoulder, and what it did is it crunched in my ribs because I weigh about 240 pounds. And it crunched in that side. So basically all 240 pounds of me traveling at I don't know what speed got put onto this shoulder. And it was kind of weird because like in my sternum, I could feel like Rice Krispies. Like I know it kind of messed up the cartilage a little bit. It's all healed up now. But I wasn't wearing a helmet when that happened, which was a big mistake on my part. Thankfully, through many, many years of martial arts training, I know how to roll with a hit. So I rolled on it really good, but I still have to deal with the outcome of kinetic energy, right? And it did a good number on me. But the running gag was the beard protected me when I didn't have the helmet. I was pen testing Azure Entra. I freaking hate the single tenant ID sign-in token, so I prefer federated as default line for different tenant IDs per realm. Yeah, I get that too. I need to adjust my windows on this computer because I just noticed that they're bleeding over into the vertical monitor. So I've got two vertical monitors and then an ultra wide here, right? And I was tinkering with how to get the windows set up properly, but these ones are bleeding into the side monitors, so I need to go adjust that. What's the best path for pen testing? Book course or those hack the box type exercises? So Hack the Box and Try Hack Me both have their learning routes built in there. Try Hack Me, I think, is a bit more guided. Hack the Box, I think, is a bit more freeform. They're both good in their course content. If you're trying to learn it just from doing CTFs, you'll get a lot of information, but you won't get one of the primary things, which is what's the pen test life cycle like? Because when you're doing something like Hack the Box or Try Hack Me, you have one target, and that is to compromise that target, get user access to get the flag, get root access to get the flag. The smallest penetration test I was ever on, and it was a tiny one, was 30 machines in that network. So that's easily larger than just about any CTF you're going to find. So one of the things that you don't get is, and one of the downsides to it is you can get stuck on one particular system. And you get stuck into this loop of, I need to compromise and root every single system. I don't do that. In fact, I had my customer ask me on this recent red team I did, it's like, hey, how come you're not escalating your privileges on the system? And I was like, I don't need them. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, I don't need to escalate my privileges on that system. I'm able to do everything I can from just this regular user land, implant that I've got on the box. And he's like, I never thought of it like that. I was like, yeah, that's pretty much the way it is. I escalate where I need to. I move laterally where I need to, but I try not to do things needlessly. For two reasons, especially on a red team, because they make extra noise. And two, I just might not need it, right? I had avenues to work through that did not include privilege escalation on that box. Oh, what is this? No, gotta skip that one. Shooting arrows. Hang on. Let me add that to the delete list. Okay. So as far as the best path for penetration testing, best is like a really subjective word, and from where you can look at it depends on a couple different things. I was a big fan of offensive security for a long time. However, they're charging way too much. It's very inaccessible for newcomers now. So I don't recommend OffSec very much. In fact, our good buddy Tyler, I don't remember what his site is. Tyler Ramsby course. He's got his new site up right now. Not Simply Cyber. Where is it? I don't remember what. I'm ashamed to admit I do not remember what his website is now. Let me go look him up real quick here. Where's his about page? It might just be up on hacksmarter.org. Yeah, here we go. I would say one of the better places to actually start would be Tyler's page, because he's actually actively working on developing it. It's going to be very fresh content, and he's trying to really push it forward with it. So I like him, and I've talked to him a lot. I wouldn't say he's a buddy, except I would. If he lived nearby, I'd totally go hang out with him. But he lives like 5 states away. So he's a really cool guy. I like him a lot, and he's actually working on bringing a lot of new stuff into it, especially since he was a penetration tester kind of before he made this material. He's seen what's happening in present day, and he's making that. So that's actually one of the areas I recommend going to check out. The Try Hack Me sign up page says your password should be a minimum of 6 characters. On a website like that, I'm like, what are they going to do if they get into my account, right? I don't store my credit card on there. And even if I did, they couldn't steal it. The worst thing they could do is go buy me more courses. And then, really, what are they going to do? Go solve my challenges for me? Some websites just don't need a super secure password. At the same time, I do recommend using a password manager. Yeah, the Hack the Box Academy is not bad for it. Let's see. I've been an Xbox fan, but I imagine Microsoft uses Global Tenant ID internal for all their Xbox accounts. So single security breach on all the Xbox accounts hacked. I wouldn't be surprised if that would be the case, Sin. What are the salary ranges? I would say your typical, and it depends also, because there's different areas of penetration testing. So one of the other really cool ones I recommend is, what is it? The Burp Suite Academy. Especially if you're not very familiar with, let me see if this is the correct link here. Yeah. Here, I'll drop you this link as well. The Burp Suite Academy is really good for learning web penetration testing. And there's always a big need for people to go through and penetration test web apps. I did that for a really long time. It wasn't my primary focus. It was just that was the primary type of work we got, was just a lot of web apps. And so me personally, I'm kind of burned out on web apps. Another reason why I don't really like doing CTFs personally, because 9 times out of 10, the initial access point is some kind of vulnerable web app. And I'm just tired of them. I'm still tired of them. I haven't had to do one in like a year. I'm still tired of them. I did them for like 6 years solid practically, it feels like. I was so happy when I got an internal pen test. I was like, heck yeah, let's go after this. But these guys are really good at, and it's a free course for teaching how to use Burp Suite and also what the attacks are on web apps, because that's what's most common prevalent. So to go back to your original question, what's the salary range like? Peaches, quit pulling on my cables. I just saw some of the cables behind my desk start wiggling, and she had crawled under my desk and hit a bunch of them. The salary ranges, if you're doing just purely like a junior web penetration tester, realistically right now, it's probably about 80, 85K a year, which is good. Once you start moving up from there, I've seen some guys making as much as like 200 a year, depending on where they're working. Now, those guys are working long and hard hours, and they're really getting worked for that salary, but that salary is attainable. That is not nearly what I make. In fact, I took a pay cut when I moved to my new company, and I'm a lot happier there with the work. I liked the people at my old company. I like the people at my new company, but I really like the work I'm doing better. So it gave me a lot of like psychic income. Pack Crack Impact. Okay, hey Pack, what's up, man? We just got Tenable and we've been going over our 60,000 vulnerabilities trying to figure out what to update and what to get rid of. So I'm just help desk right now. I got my Sec Plus and AAS. So any tips on what I should work on so I can move towards InfoSec and not get stuck in help desk? Going through and understanding those vulnerabilities will help. I know it's a beatdown and every freaking vulnerability scanner says your TLS certs are a critical finding. They're not. But go through and start triaging those things. I would actually start from the perspective of what's the most critical systems in your environment, and then start triaging what are the actual findings on that system. Like, are they related to TLS certs, not being version 1.3 or whatever they need to be? Or is it an issue of, hey, by the way, we found that you're running a critical piece of software on this machine that has a remote code exploit on it? That would be one of the other ones that I would start with. So doing that and understanding it will help move you towards InfoSec. The other thing outside of that is if you have an internal security team, do everything you can to kind of work with them and help them out. Get a good relationship with them. Tell them, hey guys, I'm super interested in everything you're doing. So if y'all need help with something from the help desk side, let me know. Like, come to me personally. If you got to do a ticket, that's fine. Let me know. I'm going to grab the ticket real fast and then go work it that way. So kind of get into working with them as much as possible so you can start getting exposure to that area. And then from there, all hacking is malicious system administration. Not really, not malicious. There's a broader term for that. Let me rephrase that. Offensive security is really just malicious system administration. A lot of times I'm not using some cool uber elite hacks system. I'm using functionality that's already built in, and then I'm abusing it to do something that's not expected or wasn't properly locked down. I live off the land a lot whenever I'm doing a penetration test. So start getting that knowledge and understanding of this is how the system works so that you can flip it around. And I was going to say something really dirty there, but you can turn it on its head and go to town on it. That doesn't sound any less dirty. Hey, just like, no problem, man. Always glad to help. When I put QA in the stream title, I mean it. And the guys have been watching for a long time. They'll tell you I have zero problems with like going off into left field to try and help somebody, like when they're asking questions about them, about different things. The Wi-Fi Pineapple pager. I'll have to admit, I already have a Pineapple. I've got one for personal use because they're fun. But the pager, I almost did really want to get that because obviously I'm a giant, Packers nerd. Where is it? There it is.
Hack the planet!
Hack that planet. I was looking at those pagers yesterday, so I just found the category on Twitch. I didn't even know it existed. Yeah. Also, Pack, thanks for coming online, man. Appreciate it. What are they used for? So the Wi-Fi Pineapple is used for testing. It can do a couple things. One, you can use it for testing vulnerabilities in Wi-Fi systems. Spoiler alert, if they're using Wi-Fi 3, you're kind of beat. There's no good exploits against Wi-Fi 3 right now. However, if they're using it's not Wi-Fi 3, what is it? WPA 3. If they're using WPA 3, there's some theoretical attacks against it, and I think you could even attempt to crack a hash if they have it, if they're using a pre-shared key, but it's really hard, and it cracks hella slow. So be aware of that. But for the most part, you can use it for attempting to do like man-in-the-middle attacks on Wi-Fi, especially like if they're running EAP, Enterprise Authentication, where you need to actually like authenticate to a portal or use some kind of 802.11x to authenticate. You could use it potentially for that. You can set up fake Wi-Fi hotspots. So like, for example, if I know that a particular, if I'm doing a red team and I'm stalking someone, which doesn't happen very, very often, But if I know that there's a system administrator that loves a particular coffee shop and I could get him to connect to that Wi-Fi, potentially there's something I could do. Less likely now that most things run over HTTPS, but there's a lot of different things you could do with that. Yeah, Evil Twin and EPAMmer. So you're saying I shouldn't run raw web? No. No web. No web. And no web. If you know, you know. You know what's crazy though? WEP encryption should have been fine if they had just not used, because the RC4 cipher that they used for it actually is no, not was it RC? Was it RC4? You got me question myself now. Let's see. WEP cipher. Yeah, it was RC4. RC4 as a stream cipher actually is really good. The problem is they didn't use enough bits for the initialization vector, so it became pretty trivially easy to brute force. WEP should have been pretty good. Unfortunately, it just the implementation was crappy. So they kind of fixed it with WPA2. WPA2, if you can capture that handshake whenever they join the network, you can then potentially crack the hash for. You'll get a hash of the Wi-Fi key, and then you could potentially go crack that. But that's really dependent on how strong that password is. So if your password is Patriots Rule or some other weak password, then you're not going to obviously get to that. Now, however, if your password is like Dallas Cowboys rock, even if they can't put 4 quarters in the game, it's less likely you're going to crack that. I totally run WAP, so now I got to get some mop time. Oh no, no. Let me go check something real quick. So this one shouldn't have been skipped here. So the RCE check, because we did do the RCE check here. Hold on, let me back up a bit. So we have it actually checking for, oh wait, hold on. The RCE check actually happens in here. Where is that? Let me see. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so it does happen in here where we have the RCE check. Excellent. Okay. So this one should have marked RCE true. Let me come check this one real quick, because we should not have gotten RCE true yet on here. Otherwise, it would have skipped that task. Yeah, RCE false. So there's an issue with the exploit validator. Or so the revisor. The revisor should not be showing... it should not be showing task 5 as skipped in here. Let me come down here and double check it real quick. Let's collapse. Wait, no, I needed that. Damn it. Where's the task here? Here we go. All right. There, collapse these down. Okay, so here's our exploit agent. So that was all good. Yeah, so this is the one that actually, when it accessed it, it called the Diceco web shell. That was good. It showed that we were running. We did have remote code execution from the web shell. That was all fine and dandy. So this shouldn't have been skipped. This should have been skipped. So we only should have skipped number 6. I gotta go double check the instructions I put in, because it shouldn't have skipped that one. Let me come down to the revisor. Here we go. My lead security analyst has been recommending me to hack the box, and I just read the title. So this one was because originally I was actually planning on testing it on Hack the Box. Unfortunately, I found a better candidate for testing on TryHackMe. So the working title of the program is Hack the Bot. Eventually, I am going to rename it though once I get it to like a stage where like I'm going to say like, okay, here's like the initial alpha version. I'm going to rename it, but Hack the Bot is the current working name of the project. TryHackMe is the one they recommended. They are pretty good especially for learning things. Now, all the courses you're going to take, they're only as good as how you approach the learning. If your simple goal is to just complete whatever the objective is on it, you will learn some stuff. However, if you really take the time to beat it down and understand what's going on and really dig into it, you will learn a ton more. Now, there's a catch to that, and that is you don't want to get so bogged down that you don't make progress. So when you notice something important, like, hey, I don't fully understand what's happening with this, then yeah, go take a little detour, do some exploration. It's supposed to be fun. Hacking is supposed to be fun. And go learn about that. Then, once you have figured out it sufficiently, and it's a fine line to know what sufficient is, then get back on the regular path. Take a little side quest, get back on the main quest line. I think this happens down here. If validated, and then we check, okay, if the response has a RCE check. Oh, because we're going from current step to here. All right, I need to double check something real quick because it's possible that the last step is the one that gets it. Let me think about this. Where's my Python console? Can I clear this? I can't clear this. I'll just make a new one then. Screw you guys. Nerd! Shut up, baby. I know it. Let's see. So if I wanted to do a range from... Because I gotta remember how the range command actually functions in here. So current step was like 5, and then... So actually, if we went from 5 to 5, what does range return? Doesn't return anything. If we do from like 3 to 5, we get... I think I actually need to put that as a list here. Yeah, then we get 3 and 4. So we get up to, but not including... We get inclusive on the first object, not inclusive on the last object, which is fine. So... Should that be -3? No, that should not be -3. Because if we look at the output here, right? This one should have been skipped also. If this one got skipped, this one should have been skipped. So there's another typo in here. So this should have been -2 right here. And this shouldn't be current step. This should be current step +1. So let me check something else. What happens if by happenstance these overlap like this? Okay, it's going to come back with an empty list. Perfect. So just in case this became greater than this value, I didn't want it to start going off and doing crazy stuff. Okay, that's fine. So if we have an RCE check, boom. All right, so fixed that logic bug there. Let's go ahead and let it run through the rest of this. Because now what it should do is it should have the initial access exploit from here. And then what it should do is it should go test that Python with like a Python exec and make sure it actually does work. Did I crash it? What happened? Oh no, there it goes. So the step processor, this should be the very last step, which is... That's not right. Create initial access exploit for the target. Wasn't that this one? Create initial access exploit for the target. Hold on. And didn't we validate this? It became validated. So why are we going through the same step again here? That should not have happened. We're repeating work here. Hold on. I'm going to let it run one more time. Because if it does it again, then I know we've got another flaw here in the loop where it's jumped incorrectly. Why is it stuck on this one here? Let me come back to here. So this is the first one where we ran the get the initial access payload. And this one is get initial access or initial access exploit. Gotta be clear on the terms here. Get initial access exploit. Okay, so here's the first time we called that. We're calling the same thing in a loop here. So something went sideways on us. Let's go dig down into the state table real quick. So for this one, current step is 7. Okay. So step 7 is already validated. Create the initial access exploit for the target. So why is it not proceeding to step 8? Oh. Oh. I think I know why. I think it has to do with the RCE check. So if RCE check, it sets this to -2. Yep. So what we need to do here is we need to actually put another check in here. Yeah, that's what's happening with it. So it's constantly, because it's detecting RCE every time, it keeps setting it to -2. I think that's what's happening. So yeah, if we come down here to this guy, RCE true. We come down here to this guy. Yep, that's what's happening. Because look at this, oh, I already blew it away. But what was step 8? Step 8 was test the initial access exploit. Step 7 was generate it. And so every time it's detecting RCE and it's not updating the step. Got it. You're doing an AI HackBot? I guess no need to learn hacking for me? No, dude, definitely learn it. This thing is so fucking stupid. Oh, you got me cussing. This thing is ridiculously dumb. This is just a fun project to go play CTF games, like try hack me and hack the box. Now, however, if you really want to get demoralized, let's see, Anthropic AI hacking report. Yeah, here you go. If you really want to get demoralized, go read this. And then read it carefully, because then you realize that this AI hacking agent, and we're going to go over this on Wednesday night's news stream, by the way. I'm not going to go over the article because the article doesn't really tell us a ton, but they do have a link to the full thing. Hold on, they had an update. What was that? Added additional hyperlink to full report for the initial section. I knew it wasn't there the first time I read it. Corrected an error about the speed of the attacks. Not thousands of requests per second, but thousands of requests, often multiple per second. That sounds a bit more right. Anyway, this report, though, the full report where they go through and they detail it, we are going to go over this on Wednesday night's news stream. We're actually going to get in here and break it down bit by bit, because I suspect a lot of what was in here, it left me with a lot of questions. I'll admit, I went through and I read through this. I had so many questions. I had typed them up. I was getting ready to rip this thing apart for fear-mongering because they didn't give a lot of details. Then I saw the entire report down here.
Incoming transmission from Moreno Gumby. What does that have to do with how much peanut butter you can fit in an elephant's ear with a popsicle stick?
It does. It has about as much to do as how many pancakes does it take to sand a doghouse. There you go. I do bring the real talk, man. I don't try to come in and be like, hey, I'm the world's greatest hacker. No, this red team I just finished up, I made mistakes. There were things that there are definitely things I could have done better. I got a lot of backup from coworkers because I've got guys that have a lot of specialized knowledge. I'm like, hey, I'm in this situation. What do you think should be the path forward? So that was really awesome. I have like an entire list of people to send like thank you cards to because they were all backing me up during it. No, I'm not God's gift to hacking or anything. I'm just a guy who is in a position where I know a lot of people want to come into or think they want to come into. Offensive security is not for everybody. It sounds really cool, but honestly, defense is what wins the game. It's just like for football. Offense gets the glory, defense wins the game. I recommend a lot of folks like, hey, you need to talk to people who are in this field and realize what their day-to-day is actually like and see if you're going to like it. You might freaking hate it. However, there could be something else in cybersecurity that's in that field that you do like. Maybe you just really freaking like packet captures. Maybe you like going down and breaking down the after action of what happened during a compromise. So incident response might be more your thing, or forensic analysis. There's a whole slew of areas you can go into. And I recommend going into those areas if they fit you. Go talk to people that are doing it. Get to know folks. Don't try to operate in a vacuum. I realize people are saying you don't know programming you don't have to know programming to be a cybersecurity specialist or pen tester or a red teamer. That's pretty much misleading. I hear it from a lot of the so-called professionals. You don't have to be a programmer, but a huge knowledge in scripting and how programs work is mandatory. Yes, it is. So I'm not a programmer. Everything I've been doing with HackBot here has been to become a better programmer. But I have had a pretty successful career in offensive security for 7 years now, getting close to 8 years. So what I was really good at was reading code and understanding it and modifying it or finding ways to break it. But writing code was not anything I was particularly strong at. So I wanted to become stronger in that area. That's one of the reasons why I started this project. I don't like playing CTFs, but I like the idea of making an AI agent to go play CTFs. And I need to understand how developers are building their AI agents. So I started doing this to understand what are the pitfalls, because they start putting them into production, which means now they're fair game for me to go hack. So this thing has so many facets to it on why I picked this project. And then my very favorite part is actually this guy right here, the special agents. These are basically plugins for HackBot. So if you want to go make your own agent, and it doesn't even have to be in LangChain or LangGraph, it just has to follow the proper format where it can pass execution over to it. Well, I'll take that back. It actually would need to be in LangGraph, but it doesn't necessarily have to use LangChain in there. You do have to use LangGraph, but not LangChain. But you can go put specialized knowledge in there, which is something I plan to do. I plan to have a whole little suite of specialized agents in here. And then those agents, like Browser Agent right now, only operates inside the parent graph. There's an update to it I want to do eventually to make it to where it will check if I'm being called from the parent graph or am I just being called from like the main function. If I'm being called from the main function, cool. We're going to go into chat mode. And then you can go in and chat with that agent and be able to interact with it and use it as if it was a little standalone bot. I love this project. I've had so much fun with it. My boss loves this project. My coworkers love this project. They are always awaiting the Monday update to see what I did and what ridiculous crap I got up to doing this. The best field for spyware? Malware development. Dude, there's an entire course on that, and there's people that will pay really good for it. The Maldev Academy. Right here. These guys, they've got an entire course on developing malware. And it's really great. Actually, this is one of the courses where I'm planning to, as I've got a whole slew of courses I wanted to run through, but I wanted a good solid way to distill the information into something to help me learn it better and to make it somewhat reproducible. That's what the special agents are for. So starting here after Thanksgiving, I've got an Azure and an AWS pen testing course because there's so much there, so freaking much. But I've got those on my plate. So I'm planning on making special agents to help handle some of those tasks in here. I don't know which ones are going to be public and which ones are going to be like my private ones. It depends on what I'm working on. Those ones will probably be public. But yeah, so as I go through and I'm learning things, I wanted something to be able to distill it into a reproducible system. Well, a little AI agent sounds like a cool idea. Yeah, no worries, man. Being able to have an AI agent go and build me like a cool piece of, malware for one of my red team assessments, that sounds really freaking cool, man. I'm not holding my breath on it, but it does sound pretty cool just to go attempt and play with, right? Say that again. I don't even remember what I said 5 seconds ago, Frozen. I get on a rant and it just goes. It's just word vomit. All right, I need to go fix this real fast here. So, let me think about this. So if response RCE check, actually, so let me think about this. So if we get the length of the task, so like in this case we have 8, we get the length of it, the length is 9. So length of the task minus 1 minus the current task. So that would be 9 minus 1 will give us 8. And then if we subtract 2 from that, and then we compare it to... Yeah, then what we do is we just compare that to what the current task is. So for anybody who's wondering, the way this kind of works out here is... a task is a bit of an overloaded term as far as HackBot's concerned. So we have tasks that the primary agents operate on. So that's recon, enumeration, exploit. There's also going to be a post-exploitation agent in here. We just haven't started working on it yet. Tasks are what they work on. However, the exploit agent needed the ability to basically do execution and fail and then try again in a good way, in a trackable way. So what we did is we added an additional loop here where after the exploitation agent says, here's how I want you to exploit this, the planner makes the plan, it runs through the steps for the plan, and then it goes through with it. Actually, I should have been using the term steps instead of tasks as I'm going through here. So what this will do, I'm gonna buff this up a bit. So RCE check, and if the length of the exploit task steps minus 2, we'll say if that's actually I take that back. What we want to do is we want to check the current step. If the current step is greater than or equal to it. So in this case, when it first detected RCE, it was like on step 5, right? So that would be an early RCE check. I'm going to put this in here real quick. We're going to do early RCE check. Let me put a note in here about this. Yeah, I'm going to put some notes in here. Let's see. This is actually incorrect right here. And this should not be length right here. And I take that. This should not be greater than. This should be less than. Yeah. So we have 8 totals. So like for this example, we have 8, we have 9 total steps. We take away 2 from that. That gives us 7. So which is perfect because steps 7 and 8 are the injected steps. And so if the current step is less than, in this case, 7, that'd be perfect. Okay. Check if an early step achieves RCE. RCE. Yeah, we'll do this. That should be fine there. So early RCE check is basically just going to check if an early step achieves RCE. If so, we'll say set remaining steps to skipped except the last two. There we go. I'll put that in there. So what was happening is we were always hitting this RCE check, and it was always setting the current step back to where it was create the initial access exploit over and over and over again. Because we were entering this every time we had a RCE check trigger. So if we get early RCE, then what we do is we set all the remaining steps except the last two as skipped. Except for the current step. So we do everything from the next step up to the last two steps in here. Okay. That should be good. I wonder if this is actually, this should patch it into the current run. So I'm going to try running it again. If we get the initial access exploit again, then I'll time travel it up here and we'll try it again. So what it should be doing now is it should hopefully call like Python exec to test it, but it went through really fast, so I don't think it did. Yeah, it did a get PHP web shell dice code. Well, that's because of the way the RCE check is now structured. So what we need to do is, let me collapse these down. Because what we want to do is we want to go and we want to time travel a wee bit. What time is it? Oh, this is just in time for the end of the stream. We're going to wrap up here in a few minutes. All right, let's see here. Exploit step processor, back it up, back it up, back that dang up, back. Wait, I already collapsed you. Go away, go away. Collapse. Wish I could just tell them, hold on, if I back this up. There we go. Now we're cooking. All right. So tool node, that's get Diceco web shell, get initial access exploit, get initial access exploit, call PHP. Okay, so this is actually where this should have happened. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to rerun it from here. So this is just after it should trigger the early RCE check. All right, now let's see what happened. Okay, so the reviser comes back and says, excellent, it's validated, we have early RCE, so then now we should see a bunch of steps get marked as skipped. And it should go to create initial access exploit, which we have a tool for that, which is super handy. Actually, let's come down here. So when it goes down to the router, what we can do is we can dig into the state table and make sure all the additional steps got flagged as skipped. So let's dig down in here. Okay. That one was already validated. So it was like step 5. Okay, cool. So here's where the early RCE check should have happened. So it should skip step 6, which is good. It did. Test the web shell. And then now it should do create initial access exploit, which it did. We already gave it a tool for that. Since this is an artifact, we can do that. Boom. So now it should move on to the last step, which is just to test it with the Python exec. Ooh, you're not giving me much hope because that was really fast execution. Okay, you're technically correct, you little turd. So it didn't test the initial access exploit. It just called the tool for call the PHP Diceco web shell. You punk. All right, you're technically correct, but that is not what you're supposed to do. Okay, let me go ahead and I need to leave a to-do in here for tomorrow night, which is I'll have to think about how to do this. I'm going to leave the note up here in the step processor because I think that's where we'll need to put this. But I'm going to drop a little to-do in here. So to-do, fix, now wait. Testing the initial access exploit. With the code from the exploit task. Don't let it cheat with call. What was the function called? Call PHP web shell diceco. Web shell diceco. Okay. There we go. All right, I got a note saved for what we're going to pick up tomorrow night. All right, let me go ahead and turn the servers off right now. Boop. Because we're going to have to do a new seed run. Otherwise, I could have left this up in theory. So let me do that. I'm going to kill the VPN. Okay, VPN's done. Let's go see who's online that we might be able to go raid over to. So, bummer. So for anybody who doesn't know, InfoSec Streams is a really awesome site. You can go in here and you can find people doing stuff like this or other stuff, or they're doing Try Hack Me, or they're doing Hack the Box, or just other computer security related content. And you'll find them on here. A lot of folks are on during the day, believe it or not. Tyler Ramsby, who I mentioned earlier, he's doing a lot of like co-work streams, doing like a Pomodoro thing. They're not bad. I like them. So I pop in occasionally when I can and I heckle him during his breaks. But this is a really great site for finding things like that. But let me go see who we might be able to go a raid over to real fast. Let's see. By the way, on the Twitch side of the house, if you have any raid suggestions, please feel free to shout them out. That's weird. Hang on one sec. Let me go check something real quick. Yeah, it should be online. Wonder why it's not.
Incoming transmission from Mariano Gumby. Don't forget to push it real good.
Yes. Thank you, Gumby. I do need to push it real good. All right, hang on. Let's go push the code update. All right, so recon, prompts, exploit, and enum agents all have this. Let's see. So what do we do? Fixed. Fixed issue with missing context. Missing context or recon / enum. And then we also did, what else? We also corrected logic bugs in exploit. There we go. There we go. All right. Commit anyway. Now, did that actually push? Because it's caught me before when it did that. Push. Okay, the code's up on GitHub now. There we go. Let's see here. Who's online we might be able to go raid over to? Who's the victim for the raid today? That's what I'm trying to figure out right now. So if you have any suggestions, shout them out. Let's see. Sid Heresy's on. He's doing some soldering projects, fixing more computer boards. So maybe we'll go right over to him. He's a super smart guy. Hey, Elite Warrior. Yeah, I saw the Anthropic report about it. And actually, we're going to cover it Wednesday night on the news stream. We'll read through the report. That's the first thing I'm going to hit before I cover any of the other news, because I have so many questions and I have a lot of suspicions. And so I'm hoping that report addresses them. Yeah, I actually spent, I'm ashamed to admit this, I spent an hour reading through just their blog article because I had, and typing up notes because I had so many questions. I'm like, well, what did they do? How would this happen? Here's what possibly what did. Because I was planning another YouTube video around it, and I was trying to figure out what the heck was going on with it. And then I get to the very bottom, like, here's the full report. I was like, you mother... I was so mad that I did that. So now, I get any news article, if they don't have the full report linked to the top, I'm just going to go to the bottom and see if they've got it. It's a learning lesson. It was a painful time waster. That's a powerful learning lesson. So yeah, I'm going to cover that on Wednesday night's news stream. We're gonna tear that report up. Empowering gaming computers. Are they on right now? Let's go look. Yeah, he's on right now. Ooh. Do computer building. Heck yeah. Yeah, we'll go give him a raid, guys. Do me a favor. When y'all get over there, do me a favor. Drop a Hack the Planet and some Cookie Monsters. Yes. Hold on. There we go. Hold on. Let me toggle this. There we go. Yeah. Drop some Hack the Planets and some Cookie Monsters. All right, that's where, unfortunately, I've got to end it, y'all. Thank y'all so much for coming to hang out. You know I appreciate y'all. All the heckles, all the reminders to push it real good, everything. I appreciate y'all. Had a great time. HackBot's coming along, fixing tiny bugs. And actually, we're getting so close to being able to move on to the PostX agent. So I'm going to get Cody, the guy who wrote the Mythic C2 framework, because that's what we're going to be using for this. I've got another project written by a buddy called Sage we're going to dig into because he's kind of already working along those same lines. So I'm going to draw some inspiration from what he's been doing. We're going to have some fun getting ready for the PostX agent. Yeah, Hack the Planet. That's right. You got it. All right, everyone. Take care. Y'all have a fantastic night. Have a great day tomorrow. Spend it with your friends and family so we can get ready for Crushing It mode on Monday. And I want you all to remember one very important thing. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I love you. Peace.